morning. If y'all go ahead and stand and worship with us, we're going to dive right into his presence this morning. Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands, great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands, this is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. I know the night won't last, your word will come to pass. My heart us and we can rely on you, God, that you are our champion, Lord.
I've tried so hard to see it. Took me so long to believe it. You choose someone like me to carry your victory. Perfection could never earn it. You give what we don't deserve it. You take the broken things and raise them to glory. You are my champion. Giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you won, I am who
that we can fall so deeply into your grace. God, thank you so much for sending your son to die on a cross for us so that we can run into your arms and just be met with love and be met with grace. And God, you tell us that we're allowed to take up space. I don't know who's here this morning and who has been told in their life that maybe they're too much, or maybe they're not enough, maybe they're too little. But God, you call us to this beautiful place that we're allowed to not be okay sometimes. When the world tells us that that's not okay, you tell us that it's okay to not be okay. You tell us that we can take up space. And you tell us that we are met with grace and with love and all so undeserving. That you invite us to sit at your feet and you invite us to bring what we have, even if it's nothing, even if we think it's not enough, or even if we think we're too much, that we can come and sit in your presence, God. You invite us to walk with you. You're not some figure in the clouds that is sitting on a throne that is too good for us, but you love us so much that you come to us and you bring us to that spot. You bring us to you. So God, I just pray this morning that you invite us to walk with you, and that where you go, we go, and that who you love, we love, and that who you see, we see. I'm just so thankful, God, for your presence this morning. I just pray over this room, God, and that they know that when they walk out of this door, that they feel you, and they feel how strong you are and how strong you are for us when we can't be strong at all, God. Thank you for wanting us where we are and allowing us to take up space, God. We love you and we praise you. And I say all these things in your son's precious name. Amen. Y'all can have a seat.
All right, good morning. Hey, can you give these guys a hand? Listen, it takes a lot of guts to come up here and do what they do. And I don't know if you noticed, but we got some new people on the worship team, and this was their first time here. And I think they killed it. I think it sounded wonderful. All right, it could be a lot worse, right? All right, man, it's so good to see you. Got to get you laughing a little bit, because I didn't write a sermon that was full of jokes, and then everybody showed up, so I feel like I need to write some jokes real quick, you know what I'm saying? But welcome to Brownwood Community Church. If this is your first time here, we just want to say welcome, and we do have one favor and one favor only. If you could scan that QR code on the seat in front of you and fill out our Connect card. It's super simple, it's super easy, and that allows us to remain connected with you, to tell you about cool things like family fun nights, or, you know, just reminders, and also a great way to say hi and see how you are, all right? If you came prepared to give this morning, we do have a couple of options. We've got the black box on the back wall. You can always give through that QR code, or always at brownwoodcommunity.com. Sound good? All right, unbelievably, I have literally no announcements this morning, so I'm not going to talk very long because you're going to get a whole lot of me in just a second, okay? So we're going to continue in this story, in this series called Invitations of Jesus. So we're going to watch this video and we'll get started. actually never this nervous. uh, if you were here the last time I was up here, things did not work out well. I mean, I think I preached a pretty good sermon. You guys were very nice to me, and I don't know if you were nice to me because you felt sorry for me or because you thought I did a good job, but either way, I'm very nervous. So, like, we laid hands on the lights, we laid hands on the computer this morning, and hopefully it's all going to go well, or I don't know what we're going to do today, okay? But I guess you would expect me to talk about the Super Bowl, but I have no idea anything about it. I just hope everybody has fun. Go sports, and I hope you have a great time and you eat a lot of food. If you want to talk about softball, I am here for that, and it's almost softball season, so I can talk about that, but go sports, right? So my sermon is not about that today. So if you came looking for like a biblical word about the Chiefs or the Eagles, I don't have it. Roll Tide, go Alabama, okay? That's what I do have a word for, okay? But we are in week 5 of this sermon series called Invitations of Jesus. If you didn't know, we have been going through this book. So if you haven't been here or whatever, we do have a couple more copies in the lobby. We just asked for a donation of $10 if you got it. If not, that's fine. Just take one and we'll pretend that we didn't see you do it, okay? But we are on week 5, and I'm not going to lie to you, it's kind of an interesting part today because I'm talking about transforming mission. All right, and my sermon writing is chaotic in the best way because I usually write one sermon and then I think about it all week and I pray about it and I'm like, okay, God, that was trash. Can you tell me something better? And then, so yesterday, I sat down and I hated my message, and so I rewrote it. So if you hate this one, don't worry, the one before this was worse. Okay, it was a lot worse. All right, so I don't know if you know this, but on your phone, the Bible app, right? Everybody knows you can have the Bible on your phone. You can actually do a word search of the Bible, okay? And that basically means that you can type in any word that you're looking for, and it'll bring up any and all verses that contain that word or about that word. So if you're looking for verses about love or hope or rescue or anything. So yesterday I was like, again, this is trash. I need to start over. And so I was like, what does it mean by mission? I'm looking for things about mission. So literally I did what anyone else would, and I Googled the word mission in the Bible, and I did it on my Bible app. And what's interesting about the verse that I'm going to take you to today in the chapter, it's actually in the Old Testament. I don't usually do all that Old Testament nonsense because I don't really understand a lot of it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a pastor that doesn't understand the Old Testament, okay? Can we say amen? All right? All I know is that the Old Testament happened so Jesus could come, and that's what I'm here about, okay? But today I'm going to take us to a place in Jeremiah. If you don't know anything about Jeremiah, he's a prophet, all right? And so where I'm going to take us today, the first part is a little bit sketchy, okay? It's the last part that I want to focus on, but we got to read the first part too, okay? I usually don't ever start a sermon off with Old Testament verse, like I usually have a funny story. I don't have any of those today. I apologize, all right? So we're going to be in Jeremiah chapter 47, and basically this is God talking to Jeremiah, okay? He's a prophet, and so Jeremiah can hear God really, really well, and so this is what Jeremiah wrote down that God said to him. This is the Lord's message to the prophet Jeremiah concerning the Philistines of Gaza before it was captured by the Egyptian army. You're like, I'm so glad I came to church today, right? That is so interesting, okay? And as you read through this chapter, this is what it talks about. It's full of floods, people screaming in terror, and terrified fathers. Okay, if you actually go and read that chapter, those are the literal words that Jeremiah uses that God is saying to him about what's about to happen. And then there's this little nugget of knowledge for you today. The time has come for the Philistines to be destroyed. You're like, cool, great, awesome. I'm so glad I showed up today, right? But here's where it gets good, all right? I promise it gets good. Now, I don't know, I couldn't really tell if this is like God talking in third person here, all right? Maybe he's like posing a question or a rhetorical question to Jeremiah. I'm not sure. The writing wasn't super clear, but this is what Jeremiah wrote down. Now, O sword of the Lord, when will you be at rest again? Go back into your sheath, rest, and be still. And here's what got me, okay? Here's our golden word for today. But how can it be still when the Lord has sent it on a mission? And I thought, holy mackerel, okay, God, that's cool. All right, now, not that this story is cool that God is like destroying these whole people, right? I don't know the purpose. I didn't read the whole Jeremiah story. I'm sorry I didn't do a whole lot of homework, okay? But what I did love about this part of this chapter is that his sword is not going to rest because God has a mission for it. And I want to relate this to us. How can we be still when God has sent us on a mission? Right? We're God's sword, so to speak. Don't use it for badness, okay? But I want to ask you this morning, do you know what your mission is? You're like, I'm not even sure what a mission is. You know, in Texas history, we talk about missions, all right? And that is not the kind of mission we're talking about, okay? It was for the Indians back in the olden days, all right? What's a mission? Do you know what it is? How does it affect your life? What's really cool is I figured out my mission in 8th grade. I had this awesome U.S. history teacher. Her name is Kendra Newton, and she changed my life, all right? Before then, I was good at one thing, and I was going to do that one thing for my whole life, and I was going to play softball forever. Did you know by the time that you hit like 16, your body starts to hurt? And like, I'm not 30 yet, but like, I feel like I'm about 70 sometimes, okay? I have to wear this dumb brace to sleep in because I keep hurting myself. Like, who does that, right? So that's what I was gonna be, and that's what I was gonna do until I met Kendra Newton. All right, and she taught history like you would not believe. It was a story. It wasn't these facts about these old dead white dudes, okay? It was a story about how we put our country together, and I was like, that's who I want to be in life. I want to be her so bad. Because here's what she did. She helped me figure out my mission. I wasn't even a Christian yet, but I knew somewhere deep in my heart that I had this fire for history. And that she was the one that tapped into it. She helped transform me in a way that I would be able to do my mission. She let me do the dumbest stuff, right? For example, I was weird, and I still am, okay? And I'm fine with it. It's all Gucci in the hoodie, okay? I know I'm weird. But me and my friend came up with this idea of a flying pickle. I don't know, you're 8th grade, right? And so, like, we actually had a softball team called the Flying Pickles. We were terrible. We lost every game. But, like, one time our pickle died. Don't ask. And she actually let us go outside and bury it. Like, 8th grade is weird, okay? Middle school is weird, and she just let us do it, all right? But she also took time to get to know me. She cared about me, and she continued to care about me all through high school. She helped transform me by identifying my gifts before I even knew what my gifts were. Isn't that so cool? Don't you see a pattern here? I couldn't figure it out on my own. So this morning I ask you, do you know what your mission is? And if you would say, no, I don't know, to help us transform mission, we need to be surrounded by community. And because of her community in my life, friends, okay, I know she hated me for a real long time. Not really, but I know I was annoying, okay? Have you ever met a middle schooler? I love you all. There's 3 of them in here. I don't know if there's any more, but I teach 3 of them, okay? I love them so much, but they are so annoying, okay? I love them. I love you, okay, but you're annoying, all right? But it's because she surrounded me with her love, and I know that I got on her last nerve. And listen, she coached me all through high school, and then I went to college, and I became an education major, and I majored in history. And when I got ready to student teach, guess who I went to student teach with? Kendra. And then a few years ago, I stopped teaching during the pandemic, and 3 years later, or 2 years later, she called me, and she said, I need a teacher. And I said, girl, I don't know who you looking for. There ain't one around here. And now she teaches a hallway over from me. And we teach a class together. To help us transform mission, we need to be surrounded by community. There's a story in Acts. There's a chapter called The Believers Form a Community. And I'm going to read you word for word what Luke wrote. This is like, if you don't know much about Acts, it's like part 2 of Luke's story. And so this is like after Jesus has left. He sent down the Holy Spirit, and this is what happens in response to that, okay? So I'm just going to read you the type of community that Luke saw happening around him. All the believers devoted themselves to apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing in meals and to prayer. And a deep sense of awe came over them all. And all the apostles performed miraculous signs and wonders. And all the believers met together in one place and shared everything they had. They sold their property and possessions and shared their money with those in need. Wouldn't that be wild today? What if we all as Brownwood Community Church got together and we actually lived this way? I'm going to keep going. They worshiped together at the temple each day. Every single day they were with each other. I'd be getting on your nerves real big at that point, right? You know what I'm saying? Y'all can only take small doses, you know? They met in homes for the Lord's Supper and shared their meals with great joy and generosity, all while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all people. And guess what happened? Guess what happened in response to that community? And each day the Lord added to their fellowship those who were being saved. Wow. Incredible, right? This is important for us because as we surround ourselves with community, our mission becomes clear. We need a community that surrounds us to let us know, hey, this is what I see in you. Man, I talked about a couple of weeks ago when everything went to crap, nothing was working. And so many people came up to me and said, I think that was your best one yet. I was like, that crap? Are you serious? So many of you came up to me and said, I think you've got a real gift. And I went home and I was like, wow, that's incredible. That's what community does for us. And I know it works. It doesn't just work for me because it works for this other guy. And he's one of my favorite guys. I love Peter. Anybody know Peter in the Bible? He's my homie. All right. Peter is a real screw up. He really is. He messes up a lot. One of my favorite things about Peter is that he makes Jesus love him and call him Satan like all in the same paragraph. And I'm like, if that is not me, you know what I'm saying? Like, God is like, KV, you're doing so good. Get behind me, Satan, like all in the same breath, right? And what's crazy about Peter's story is that Jesus predicts that Peter will deny him 3 times. And he does. But what's incredible about that, we don't hear a whole lot about Peter after that until we get to Acts. And you know what happens with Peter? Acts is where Peter transforms his mission. Acts is where Peter becomes who he's supposed to be. And you want to know why? I know that Jesus tells them that that's who he's going to be, right? We all have a mission that Jesus tells us who we're going to be, but sometimes we don't realize the mission until we're in a community of people. And you know where you know where Peter becomes a superstar? He would never say that about himself. It's in the book of Acts. That's where he begins preaching like he's on fire. It's not a coincidence that Peter happened to be surrounded by a community when he becomes the rock that Jesus described him to be. His community helped him transform. You guys have helped me transform. In the 7 years that I've been a part of Brownwood Community Church, I never would have guessed that I would be up here. I hated church. I thought church was dumb and stupid, and I hated everything about it. Here we are. I guess a lot has changed. The best thing that we can do for people is to bring our transformed selves and interact with the community around us. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect. Transformation does not equal perfection. We're being transformed daily. And the best KV I can give you is my transformed self. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means in a second. But doesn't this sound like a lot like mission? Sometimes we get in our head that we're supposed to do one thing and one thing only. Nah. Mission is bringing your transformed self to the people around you, to the people that are in your circle, to the community that you interact with daily. So I want to go back to this question. Do you know what your mission is? So now you're thinking. You've had a little bit of time to think and ignore me for a second, right? Do you know what your mission is? And if you still say no, I would say you need to have more intimacy with God. Intimacy is not a word that I would ever want to use for myself. I'm cool, calm, collected, and closed off. And Miriam was rolling her eyes in the back of her head because I don't know if you guys know, I just graduated from recovery. And yes, it's amazing. I feel so good. And closed off is no longer an option, okay? Bummer. We hate that. But to transform our mission, we have to get intimate with God. All right, I think about intimacy. I'm not married, but I have a lot of really close friends. Those are the people that I'm intimate with. I'm intimate with my dog more than anyone because I can tell her whatever, and I'm sure she's telling all her dog friends, but I have no idea. She's just barking her head off. You know what I'm saying? So, like, she's a safe place, right? Why isn't God our safe place? What are you afraid of? And it's cool because, you know, when we talk about Jesus and his ministry, it's like the disciples showed up and they knew exactly what to do. Sometimes we get that in our head that they just already knew what to do. And there's one point where Jesus actually teaches them to pray. Wouldn't that have been so cool to just be with Jesus and like learn from him sitting in a circle like, this is how you pray? And you'd be like, oh, got it, right? So I'm going to take us to that. This might be familiar to some of you. Jesus says, then this is how you should pray. Our Father in heaven. Our Father in heaven. Hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread and forgive us our debts as we have forgiven others. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. To refer to God as Father requires intimacy. That means you know somebody. We don't just call random people we meet mom and dad. I do sometimes just to make people feel uncomfortable. Like anyone older than me, I'm like, okay, mom. They're like, no. I call Jordan my mom. She's younger than me, right? But to do that, I need to have an intimate relationship with them. Right? I just don't go up to strangers in Walmart and like, what's up, Mom? Wouldn't that be weird? I think they call the cops on me, probably. And there's this great book. It's part of Dr. Seuss books. It's this book called Are You My Mother? And it explains this situation perfectly. All right? In this book, okay, it's like 10 pages, all right? So if you're not a reader, okay, it's only 10 pages, okay? And it's Dr. Seuss, so go home today and read this book. But it's about these birds. Okay, and this mom bird has laid some eggs, but she gets hungry, as you do when you lay eggs, I'm certain, okay? So she goes and gets some food, and of course, as she's gone, one of her birds hatches and somehow falls out of the nest, right? But that little bird has never been introduced to its mom. It's been in an egg. So literally, this little bird is on a mission to find its mom. Okay, and it goes up to all these weird animals like a dog, and the bird is like, are you my mother? And that dog is like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm gonna eat you right now, you know? That's in the PG-13 version of Dr. Seuss. You know, he goes up to like all these different animals, and all the animals are like, are you kidding me? I'm not your mother. And obviously at the end, the bird finds his mother, right? So what does that have to do with anything? Well, when the disciples learned to pray referring to God as Father, it changed their level of intimacy with God. When they began to say that prayer, Our Father, it changed the level of intimacy from God being to this like weird being wherever to now he's our Father. That changes some things. Does it feel awkward for you to call God Father? I'll be honest with you, I don't love to call God Father. But you know what I have called God? My bro. I'm serious. Or like as my middle schoolers say to me, bruh. And I'm like, sister, you know. But I've referred to God as bro. I teach my middle schoolers and my high schoolers in my youth group that is the relationship I have with God. And you know what? It changed everything for me because you know what? I never had any siblings. So it's kind of cool to have that older brother type of image when I'm talking to God because he's going to protect me. And sometimes, man, God is a mom to me. You know, like when you need a hug, you need a good cry. You know who I always cry to? My mom. right? I go and sin, or like I'm nearly 30 years old, and sometimes I just need to snuggle up with my mom. And sometimes that's who God is for me. Sometimes when I'm praying for Alabama to win a game, that's when I refer to God as my father, because me and my dad, we love softball. You know, it requires a certain level of intimacy. Intimacy with God changes our mission. Intimacy with God changes our mission. I'll tell you how it happened for me. I taught for 5 years. And then the pandemic hit, and I was just kind of over it. I'm not going to lie to you. It became really hard to be a teacher. And so I quit. And it wasn't just because the job was hard. It's because my intimacy with God changed. And I'm going to be honest with you, not everyone understands your intimacy with God. Not everyone understands what God has told you. But I understood quite clear. God was calling me to be a pastor. Many men will tell you that God doesn't do that for people like me. But he was. You can't say no to God when God is your father, God is your bro, and you have this intimacy with him, and he tells you to do something, and you trust him, and then you have to do it. And God has called me to do some really weird stuff. But I'm intimate with him, and I have a relationship with him, and I know that I'm going to say yes because he's my bro. I know he got me. He's my dude. I know he's got me. He wouldn't lead me into something that wasn't for me, right? Intimacy with God gets difficult because many of us, through no fault of our own, have a default image of God. I used to be like this. I used to think that God is angry. When I graduated recovery, that's when I finally realized that God's not angry. He's not angry with me. God is scary. Oh, yeah, well, sometimes God asks you to do scary stuff, but he's not scary himself. God is going to punish me. I don't know who taught us that crap. Because that's not who God is. And you want to know why I know this now? Because we're intimate. Because I know him. And because although weird things have happened in my life, and I've had 2 ribs removed, and I had a kidney stone, and I had all these different surgeries, I know that it's been for my benefit. Because I have an intimacy with God. And when I was laying in that hospital bed, desperate for relief of pain, my Father came down to rescue me. When we get intimate with God, when we grow close to him, we begin to know God. Intimacy transforms us. Intimacy transforms our relationship with God. And here's the thing. I imagine that when I get to heaven, we're going to have a secret handshake. Because that's my relationship with my God in heaven. And we're already going to know it. We're not going to have to practice because we've been practicing my whole life. Because that's my intimacy with God. Having intimacy with God has changed everything for me. Having intimacy with God, knowing God on a level that it's not just because I'm reading a book, it's because God's inside of me. He's inside my heart and he's inside my brain all day, every day, because he's my bro. What else does he have to do? I want to go back to this verse for a second and point out something different to you. So Jesus says to his disciples, "Then this is how you pray, our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." Sometimes we meet Christians and they're well-meaning and they're good people. But have you ever met those Christians that are like, I'm saved so I can go to heaven? Right? Sometimes we get tricked into that, or sometimes we hear messages on that part of Christianity. Yes, 100%. You're saved, you're going to heaven. But I think God's asking more of us. I think Jesus is wanting more for us. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Intimacy and community help us transform Brownwood, Texas. Man, that's the reason that we started this church. If you're new or you haven't been a part of us for a very long time, 7 years ago, they sent out this survey to Brownwood, Texas, and you were supposed to fill out if you had a church home. And guess what happened? 16,000 people said they do not have a church home. 16,000. It's probably much more at this point. intimacy and community help us transform Brownwood. So we got this idea that what if we became a church that preached on something a little bit different? What if we became a church that transformed ourselves so that we could transform our community? What if we could invite people that don't typically get invited to church? What if we put people on a platform that don't usually get a platform? Intimacy and community help us transform Brownwood, Texas. So as we're thinking about mission today, I don't know what your mission is. My mission, it's transformed so many different ways. I thought my mission was just to be an 8th grade U.S. history teacher. How boring. That's my mission? God's made it super clear to me my mission is teenagers. And I love them. And they annoy me so much. But I love them so much. Right? They're the best part of life. They're so mean and they're so nice all in the same sentence. You're like, wow, thank you. Like last week, one of my kids was like, you look drippy today, Miss Vernon. And I was like, cool. Like that's the best thing you could say to me, right? Is a middle schooler tell me I had drip, which means I dress cool, okay? For all of us that don't know what that means, all right? So like that was a big thing for me. But what if we begin to think about our mission is in Brownwood as it is in heaven? What if we don't have to narrow it down? What if our mission field just became Brownwood, Texas? And you operate in your gifts as you see fit, but we're going to make Brownwood as it is in heaven. That just excites me. Brownwood needs us. They need us. But the only way we can do it, the only way to transform our mission for our lives, we have to get intimate with God. And we have to be involved with the community. There's no option. There's no like all the above. We got to do it. We can't pick neither answer choice. We can't do one without the other. So what's your mission? What's your mission? Everyone's is different. Maybe your call is teenagers, and I would say we have youth 6:30 on Wednesdays. Maybe your mission is kids, and I would say Amy would love your help next door. Maybe your mission is like helping people get free from debt. Wow. Don't you think that could change lives in Brownwood, Texas? What if your mission is a freedom class and helping people get free and recover? Man, I spent 21 weeks in that class. And it's been amazing. Because I can be me now. I'm not weighed down by all the other stuff in my life. It's just me now. So what's your mission? You know, I like to think of it like, what are you good at? And then how can you use that for God? Maybe you're super good at art. I am not. Don't ever ask me to be good at art. Or math. I'm not good at that either. So what's your mission? Or in other words, how can you show God's love in this world? And the world is huge, right? So what if you just started in Brownwood? Or what if you just started in your workplace? You know, I work in a school, right? And my mission is teenagers, but you know what my mission is also? The teachers that I work with. I got to change that community because you know what? Teachers are the most negative people you're ever going to meet, and they deserve to be. They deserve to be. But you know what my mission is? To make people laugh. I'm going to be obnoxious 100% of the time so that you have a good day. Where's your community at? I don't know where all of you work, but how can you change the world around you? It doesn't have to be all 7 billion quadrillion people in the world. It can start as something as small as your household. You know, I got a roommate. How can I show her God's love in this world? I'm still working on my dog, okay? I told you she don't love Jesus yet. I try. Intimacy with God and community transforms our mission. And I want to end with this today. How can we be still when the Lord has sent us on a mission? God, when are you going to let your sword rest? I would ask you, how can you be still? So this week, I've got 2 things you need to do, okay? Number 1, read the book, Are You My Mother? It's great. But number 2, begin to think about your mission. Think about what God has called you to be. Maybe you don't know yet. Ask someone. I guarantee someone that you hang out with will let you know what your gifts are. And then once you realize, oh, I am super good at fill in the blank, how can you use that to make Brownwood, Texas as it is in heaven? What's your mission? How can you be still when God has called you to do something? Let me pray for you. God, sometimes we're just so unaware of what we're meant to do. And God, I just pray for anyone in this room that does not have that intimacy with you, that does not have that knowledge, that doesn't know what they're doing or where they're going, God, that you would make a clear path. Lord, show them a community of people that will let them know this is what you're good at, and here's what you can do. Show them intimacy, Lord. Show them that they can trust you. Be gentle. And Lord, help us to remember that we can't be still when you've got us on a mission. Lord, we love you and we thank you. And we just pray all these things in your name. Amen. All right, week 6. Come back next week. We'll be right back here. Thank you guys so much.